Howdy, I'm Alan Furstenberg.
And I'm Mark Tucker, and welcome to Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs. Mark, good to see you again.
Likewise, good to see you too.
Thank you. I don't know about you. It feels ridiculous, like things have been ridiculously busy, and I'm always moving from one project to another these days.
Yeah, and the fact that we're in fourth quarter of the
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
I'm
Wow,
just like,
yeah. And it's funny because, what I kind of want to talk about was actually something from last quarter, now that I think about it. So this was something I did in September.
wow.
That
Yeah, no,
was
things are going fast, and you realize that a lot of this large language model stuff really was first quarter of this year.
right.
It's been a really crazy cool year.
It's been a year, all right. Our year-end episode is going to be an interesting wrap-up. I can already tell. But that's not what we're going to talk about tonight. That's in a few episodes still. But I kind of wanted to talk about something that I had worked on in September,
Okay.
and for a sprint that Google had encouraged a bunch of the GDEs to participate in. So they had asked us to do something called a MakerSuite sprint, which was, produce documentation or produce presentations or sample code or, projects centered around the MakerSuite product that is out there. And I think we may have talked about this once or twice already. MakerSuite is one of the APIs that is currently available for the Palm API. And it also has a playground. So, like everyone has a playground where you can try prompts out and see how they work, get results, and so forth and so on. But one of the things I like about MakerSuite that none of the others do, as far as I know, is that it's not just a prompt. It's not just type in a prompt, get an answer,
right,
or type in a prompt and tweak the model parameters and get an answer. You can also treat it like a template. So you can say things like, and I'll show you in a second.
Okay.
You can say, in this area, make it so that I can enter in test input and get the output for that test input. So it lets you kind of create a prompt template that you can then fiddle with and see how well it works. And if it works well, use that template for your product somewhere. So here, let me show you. So this would be for a really simple prompt. What would be a good name for a company that makes something?
Okay.
And that's something we've called product. So I can go to the test area and say, okay, let's fill in shoes. And it goes and fills that into the prompt itself, and then I can run it. And it generates output for a couple of suggestions and a response and so forth. Okay. And if I like the response or how it's formatted the response, good. And if I feel like it needs more, I need some tweaking on the prompt, or I need to adjust the the various parameters to adjust the temperature, for example, I can do so. And then let's clear this out and try something else. How about socks? And run it. And here it comes up with another suggestion. So in a nutshell, it's pretty straightforward. It's simple. In a lot of ways, it is like how other, and you can save these, load them up again later, and that's kind of one of the things that started inspiring me for an additional way to use this. So let me ask you this: when you're writing an application right now, and usually people go into a playground, they build a prompt, they'll delete parts of it to keep trying what plugging in different user prompts will be.
Right.
And when you've got that all done, what do you do with it?
Well, I do one of two things. I either have just put it in a big string, with placeholder fields.
Uh-huh.
Or I've even tried, even if I wasn't necessarily using LangChain for something else, I use LangChain's prompting, but that's even in some cases a little bit cumbersome.
Right, but even there, you build a LangChain template.
Yep.
And you stick this string, this prompt string into a string in LangChain, right?
Yep.
So LangChain has recently introduced something they call LangChain Hub, where you can save a prompt in a central repository.
Okay.
And have your code loaded from that repository.
Okay, so it makes an API call based on a certain ID or a certain.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Since MakerSuite will let you save this prompt, and it saves it in Google Drive, and Google Drive has an API.
Oh, I see this.
You see where we're going here?
Yeah.
Why not have a MakerSuite hub where you can pull the prompt from Google Drive?
Okay.
And that would, give you a template, right?
Right.
Well, except that what gets saved in Google Drive isn't just that prompt. It's also that prompt and the fields that were in it.
Okay.
So now you have a real template.
Yeah.
It also saves the model information, like the model name, the temperature, all of those settings get saved.
Yeah.
And it gets saved in Drive under a unique ID.
Okay, that makes
So
sense.
now you can pull this down and you can get a LangChain template or the LangChain model that was described with all of the parameters set. Or what if you can, because a very common thing is to take those two things and create a chain with them. The output of filling in the template goes into the model, you get a result. Why not just create a chain?
Yeah. All right.
So that's what I did.
Oh, cool.
Now LangChain JS has a MakerSuite hub object. And what you can do is you tell it to pull a prompt based on its ID. It loads it from Google Drive. And then based on this prompt, it will, you can create either a template to fill in, the model with its parameters. You can change both of those, of course.
Yeah.
Or a chain based on the two of them, where you give it parameters and you get results. So in many cases, it's literally, you pull the prompt, give me the chain with those values in it, and get the result. So you've reduced it to
wow, that's
3 lines of code.
Wow. No, that's pretty cool.
And then you think, well, okay, in something that's running in production, I'll be pulling this a lot, right?
Right.
And that's an extra API call. Why don't I build a local cache? I don't want it pulling all the time, but I may go and make a change in the prompt. If I notice errors, if I want to tune things, I may want to change the prompt a little bit.
Yeah.
And have it automatically pulled down at after some timeout period or whatever. And now we've started turning MakerSuite and this hub concept into a content management system.
Yep.
And us and content management systems.
Yes, we're big fans of content management systems and using them to lessen the workload. So and to be able to update things, kind of live without having to redeploy code.
So let me show you what the code. Let me show you what the code for this looks like.
Yeah, I was going to say. So this is currently available in LangChain JS.
This is available in LangChain JS. It's listed as an experimental module.
Okay.
But it's listed as experimental because there is no Python equivalent of it yet. And because there are also no other hubs besides LangChain's own hub. So this is, and really there's it's unique. There's no other category it fits under. So we put it under experimental for now, while we kind of figure out where it belongs.
Right.
So let me show you that code. So you can see, it boils down to just a few lines. We pull the hub manager from the library and create a new one, because it's going to be the cache, it's going to be the whole management system. We pull the prompt down based on its ID. We turn that prompt into a chain and then invoke it with the parameter, in this case socks, and then we print out the result.
Okay, yeah, wow, that is easy.
Right. It really kind of reduces the code burden to something very short and straightforward.
Yeah.
And by default, it gets configured with no cache. So every time you pull it from the hub, it gets the new copy. But you can configure it with a timeout of 1 hour or whatever. It's just as easy to get the chain as it is to get a template or to get the text model or the chat model, whatever's appropriate,
right,
and use them. It's really this straightforward. And I feel like, I don't know, to me, this feels like, okay, I've just made it so much easier to use a prompt.
Well, and I totally agree, because I haven't used LangChain a lot, but there's a lot of steps. You're like, I have to do what, and then do what, and there's just a learning curve to get over it. But whereas you can say, here's a tutorial, blah blah blah. There's the prompt. Here's a link to where the prompt is in the hub. You can look at that, play around with it. In some cases, or like make your own that you can play around with, and then you just have to use that ID, and like, here's the code, just replace it with the ID that you need to get the prompt that you want, and then you're running the example just in a few minutes, as opposed to what it might take if you started each step discreetly.
Exactly.
So like, how quickly did it take you to think about this?
I think this actually came up pretty, the idea for it came up quickly. It was really, I was reading, it was in the matter of about a day, two events that happened about the same time. I was playing with MakerSuite and realizing it was saving it to Drive, because that was accidental that I noticed that it saved it to Drive. And around the same time, LangChain started talking about their new hub.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, pulling a prompt down from, yeah, I know how to use, I've used the Drive API before. I can do this.
Well, before, Ellen's used the Drive API extensively before.
just a little.
Yeah.
So seeing those two together, it came together really, really quickly. And I bounced it off some other people, and a lot of people didn't get it.
Yeah.
It wasn't obvious why you'd want to do this. But quite a few people said that would be interesting. I mean, it's things like, if I write, a bunch of code around a prompt, while I'm testing it, I may need to tweak that prompt.
Yes.
And, in something that's written in TypeScript, that means, okay, I now need to compile it from TypeScript to JavaScript, rerun the node, reload everything in. Now, really, it's every time I call the prompt while testing, I can pull down the prompt and it uses a new prompt.
Yeah.
I can tweak the temperature in case I'm finding, unusual results. There's just, I don't know. To me, it
just makes that retest loop a lot quicker.
A lot quicker.
Something that you need when you're developing. Or it's always a delight when that happens, when you're a developer and you're like, I just have to do this, do. And
so that was part of my, one of the fun projects I was playing with in September.
Well, that's pretty cool. I'm glad that you thought of it, and that those kind of two things kind of happened about the same time, and that triggered this connection in your head, and then you were able to get that pushed out to the repo.
And I feel like it's interesting. I'm really kind of curious, in a lot of ways, what other developers are using when it comes to dealing with prompts. Because I can also imagine, we're going to want to save this and save it in GitHub, save it as part of our code repository.
Yeah.
Treat the prompt as code, which also makes sense.
Yeah.
Or do we treat the prompt as this separate thing that we need to tweak independently of our code?
Yep, as content.
Which
configuration content. Yeah.
Right. It's it's not quite content, it's more configuration.
Yeah.
That's it, but we're going to be tweaking it over the lifespan of this code, perhaps. And, we don't necessarily need to save it in version control. Maybe we do want a version, though.
Yeah.
Maybe we do want a version, though. And, Google Drive supports versioning of files. So this is now a way that we can say, okay, maybe I will always lock it into something and change change which one it points to over time.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's different ways to approach this, I think.
Yeah, because I can see where you might want to lock a production version to a certain thing, but then iterate in development and figure out, okay, this is better. I want to now go ahead and push that out to production and lock it at the new version. Right.
So I don't know. I'm really curious to hear what other people think, what other people are doing now, what other people want.
Yeah.
Because I think this is, this notion of having a hub for your prompts and other tuning parameters is an interesting one. And I don't hear too many people talking about it yet. I'd love to connect with people who are. So, you know where to find us. We're all over social media. LinkedIn's a really good spot. Comments below are always great. I don't know. You have any other thoughts on this, Mark?
I just wanted to say congratulations. I thought that was a stroke of ingenuity there. That
I actually, it occurs to me the other big piece that that enabled it, that kind of made things click for me, is this notion that MakerSuite itself treats the prompt like a template.
Yeah.
Because have you seen other playgrounds that do that? Because I haven't really.
No, everything I've seen is still just strings.
Right. So, that they enabled that right up front is a really, really powerful tool that even if you're not using LangChain, I think is really powerful as you're learning to play with prompts and learning to play with prompt engineering of, I'm going to have a boilerplate and I'm going to be filling stuff in. And let me see how things change when I fill stuff in. Yeah. That's a really powerful learning tool, I feel like.
Really cool. Yeah, I'm glad that you had a chance to show us and talk about the code, and now we get to go try it out.
Yeah, love to hear what people have to say. And I'm sure we will talk about this and many, many other things another time on Two Voice Devs.
Two Voice Devs. Take care, Alan.
You too, Mark. Have a great week.
Thank you.